It's Deidre. This is actually from Bumble, a dating app. Girls, what would you think if you saw, "If you don't respond back in 24 hours, I will unmatch," in a bio? I've finally gotten to a point in my life where I, male 27, know what I want and don't want. To play games. I've been around the block and I've seen my fair share of BS in the relationships I've had and women I've matched with. And that is, I don't want my time to be wasted. It is my belief that barring a few exceptions, i.e. going out in nature and having no signal, people will always find a way to respond relatively fast if they have some level of interest in you, especially women who get exponentially more matches than men a day. If they don't respond or suddenly slow down in their responses astronomically, it means they lost interest due to some aspect of you either turning them off, you not being interesting, or they found someone better. Within the nature of jobs these days, being pretty lenient with a few breaks to check your phone, no one is ever truly so busy that they cannot respond back within a full day. It only takes a few seconds, and if they were actually still into you, they would take the time. All of a sudden, the past 2.5 months, multiple times I would match with a girl, and then we'd hit it off in conversation. Sparks would fly, and then suddenly I would get ghosted, either to no more response or to be responded back to the next day, almost a full day later, and then wait just as long again for a response or longer. So, I might as well light a fire under their seats. If you want to keep me as an option, I expect relatively consistent communication, and I expect you to keep talking to me. I don't know what's going on in their lives, but if your life is rough, then let me know. If you lost interest or found someone else, then let me know. I have always had respect for people who have done so with me, instead of the people who keep barely dangling themselves in front of me to keep me as an afterthought option. So, if I included, "If you don't respond back in 24 hours, I will unmatch," what would you think if you saw that? Edit. Apparently this needs to be said. I'm only talking about the beginning stages while people are still talking on the app. Once you've gotten off the app and have gone on multiple dates, in a relationship, etc., whatever, it's perfectly normal to go more than a full day without talking, obviously. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this one because I kind of think that sometimes people take dating apps way too seriously. Just because you match with someone doesn't mean that they owe you their time. I think there's a failure to realize that a lot of times matches only happen because, if you really think about it, deciding if you are interested in getting to know a person will probably take more than 2 seconds. As you're swiping through the app, you're not going to be able to see any further options until you've either swiped left or right on the person. So I think what happens a lot of times is that people will hit match so they have more time to think about it. If they don't end up talking to you, they are probably just not wanting to waste your time. Once they've realized that, okay, maybe this isn't quite what I'm looking for. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with someone taking time to decide if they want to open themselves up to someone. I think this guy is being very pushy. And to be honest, I can see why sparks would fly and then he would suddenly get ghosted. I have cat hair on my face. I can see it. Frick. I think that if you are in this type of mentality, if I spoke to you for, over the span of a couple hours, I would probably see it show itself in different ways. And this in itself is such a turnoff. If I saw that on someone's profile, I would not even bother. Because the entitlement to my time speaks volumes. Just because, I match with you or start a conversation with you doesn't mean I owe you anything. I don't owe you an explanation of what's going on in my life. That's my information. I don't have to tell you anything. I don't have to explain anything to you. And I think at this phase, he's saying, oh, it's just for when we first connect on the app. After that, you can go plenty of time without talking. No, I don't believe him when he says that, number one. Number two, it's the other way around. I have zero obligation to you just because I started talking to you on an app. Okay? And when he's mentioning how it is for women on a dating app, exponentially more matches than men a day, This is true in a lot of cases. However, it can also mean that we need to take our time. It becomes overwhelming at times. You're not just gonna match with a bunch of people and have 20 conversations. Even if you're only holding 2 or 3 conversations, even one conversation, if you feel in your heart, I need to take a break from this app for a moment so that I can have healthy conversations, you are 100% allowed to do that. I feel like he is asking too much in the beginning. And I think that that comes from a place of him not wanting to, as he called it, waste his time. But to me, it sounds more like if you are not going to give me security right off, then you are wasting my time. I think he can flip this a little bit. I don't think this is a healthy way to look at dating in general, and it will scare a lot of women away. It doesn't feel safe. I always say when you are on a dating app, think of it more like walking through a hallway. You match someone. Okay, you might start talking, but you might not. Just the same as passing someone in a hallway. They are not obligated to talk to you. You are not obligated to talk to them. You are simply passing through. Oh, you notice someone, looks interesting. As they're passing you, you might look, say hey, i.e. match, and move on, never talking. Or you might stop and talk a little bit. And, well, eventually, someone has to go. You may or may not even get, it was nice talking to you. Chances are you won't, but that's okay. Like, that's normal. He is going to scare off every woman. Every woman. This is where it's most concerning as far as for this gentleman. Not only is he going to scare off most women, the ones that are not scared off by it are probably going to be those with unhealthy attachment styles who say, oh yeah, I like to keep in touch all day long. That would be ideal for me. I have no issue with that. And unfortunately, that is a character trait that comes with many other character traits. I'm not going to diagnose anyone, like always. But he's kind of asking for trouble, I think. He might be the trouble. His inability to give someone that space is a red flag. And red flags attract red flags, right? So it's great that you have a standard of communication. I don't think that it is necessary to put that in the bio because it's as if he is saying, if you want to talk to me, you have to message within 24 hours. But who wants to put themselves in a position where they have to keep up with that demand just to get to know you? No one wants that stress. So yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to put it in the profile. It's okay if you internally have that boundary. That's fine for you. But do you want someone that's going to pretend just for the sake of trying to get to know you? Pretend and bend over backwards and possibly develop anxiety about reaching you when clearly they cannot throughout their day for whatever reason. Oh yeah, and he said, with the nature of jobs these days being pretty lenient with a few breaks to check your phone, you really think that you, a stranger on the internet, are entitled to someone's break at work? Their 5, 10, 15-minute break should be yours? Like, that's very entitled, if you ask me, especially when you are a complete stranger. I'm sure they have friends and family and possibly children that they should actually be checking on, not you. You have no idea what's going on in someone's life. They are not obligated to tell you. The time that they give you, take it for what it is. If it ends up being nothing or they end up, not responding, let that be the case. Nobody owes you anything. And yeah, as I said, I do not believe for 1 second that once you've gotten off the app and gone on multiple dates in a relationship, etc., whatever, it's perfectly normal to go more than a full day without talking, obviously. If he's not okay with it now, he will not be okay with it later. In fact, he'll probably be multiple times less okay with it than he was when he was on the dating app. Just saying. Because now you are tied to him and you owe him something for reals. You are committed to him. Therefore, why can't you message him and tell him everything going on in your life? You get me? So, bad idea. Light a fire under their seats to keep me as an option? Boy, yeah!